In yet another move to hamstring the MAGA agenda, Joe Biden's Department of Health and Human Services just extended the liability shield for COVID vaccine makers through the end of, we'll let you guess, 2029, the year that Trump will leave office. What are they shielding manufacturers from if these vaccines are so safe?
Plus, HHS's vaccine injury compensation program still doesn't cover injuries from the COVID vaccine. However, a different, little-known government program can, but it's being slow-walked. Of the more than 13,000 claims sent into the program alleging injury or death from the COVID vaccine or another COVID treatment, fewer than 3,500 have decisions.
And of those decisions, 18 claims have been compensated. 3,373 have been denied. Joining us now, a member of the House Select Subcommittee on the coronavirus pandemic and a former emergency room doctor, Congressman from Georgia, Rich McCormick. A doctor and Congressman, great to see you. So if these COVID vaccines will continue for until 2029, will continue to fall under this program, which you do not get reimbursement if you're one of the few that HHS decides in favor of, you get no pain and suffering. What's Biden and co. up to with this decision?
Well, it's not just that. If you look at the way they designed this, you have no repercussions. You can't sue these companies who have come up with these vaccinations that may or may not be harmful. But this is why we make decisions with our doctors and suffer the consequences. But we've held cigarette companies accountable. You just did a report on holding oil companies responsible for global warming, right, that they could be sued for that. And then you're going to say you can't hold people who actually have real manifestations of physical harm from vaccination for young, healthy people a lot of times that should have no business of getting a vaccination when they have immunity already, and you're not going to hold them accountable. This is ridiculous double standards, and it shows you who they're favoring and who they're playing politics with. And quite frankly, we just did a hearing in which 40% of this year's FEMA budget was diverted to, guess what? COVID paybacks. Still this year, the pandemic's been over for a couple of years. And I'm an ER doc. I served my last shift about December 28th, 2 years ago. And you know that this pandemic's over, but yet we're still spending 40% of FEMA during a year where we had shortfalls in the budget for hurricanes on something that's been over for a couple of years. Shame on us. We need to hold these people accountable.
Well, all this money gets shifted around in the background, and almost nobody knows about it, which is why you need something like DOGE to take a huge, massive floodlight and shine it in here. And then you've got all these alphabet soup agencies that administer these different things. Here's my question. Can you roll these late-stage decisions back? Can Trump come into office and say, 2029, forget about it, we're going to rescind that, we're going to repeal it? Or can Congress do that? Who can act on this?
I think we're going to have to come to agreements on it. I think now that we have the trifecta, we have so much work to do. Matter of fact, the biggest thing that's going to hamstring us is how much we have to actually accomplish in this first 100 days. How are we going to pass a CR? Are we going to pass a skinny? We're going to do 2 reconciliation bills. The last time we actually got it done right was about 30 years ago. I believe it was 1997. We have a tremendous amount of work to do. We have a very narrow margin in the House, more narrow than the Senate. That should mean something to a lot of people. There's a lot of fighting to be done, so don't think it's over yet. But if we can get it right, we might just save America.
Yeah, and don't force people to ever take a jab in their arm ever again. Because in New York City, people, the companies and individuals, if they wanted to go into the workplace, were forced to get the COVID vaccine. Never again. Never again. I will go jobless before I do that again. Dr. Rich McCormick, thank you so much.